New chapter. Chapter 2. Inside our Earth. The Earth, our homeland, is a dynamic planet. It is constantly undergoing changes inside and outside. Have you ever wondered what lies in the interior of the Earth? What is the Earth made up of? So, our Earth is a dynamic planet and it undergoes many changes inside and outside. So, let's discuss more about Earth. Interior of the Earth. Just like an onion, the Earth is made up of several concentric layers with one inside another. The uppermost layer over the Earth's surface is called the crust. It is the thinnest of all the layers. It is about 35 km on the continental masses and only 5 km on the ocean floors. So, the Earth is made up of several concentric layers. That means thick layers. Several layers are there. The Earth is made up of several layers. The uppermost layer is known as crust. It is the thinnest layer and it is of 35 km thick over the continental mass and 5 km thick over the ocean floor. Okay, in this image itself we can see the interior of Earth, the outermost layer. It is known as crust. Okay, so this uppermost or the outermost layer of the Earth is known as crust. Okay, and it is 35 km thick over the continental mass and 5 km thick over the ocean floor. Okay, so here comes a question. What do you mean by crust? What's the answer? The uppermost layer over the Earth's surface is called the crust. And also along with that we can add it is the thinnest of all the layers. Okay, and it's of 35 km thick over the continental masses and only 5 km over the ocean floors. The main mineral constituents of the continental mass are silica and alumina. It is thus called Cl. The oceanic crust mainly consists of silica and magnesium. It is therefore called Sima. Okay, so we have learned that the outermost portion of the Earth is known as crust, and its thickness also differs for both this continental mass and for ocean floors, isn't it? So the mineral constituents that make the continental mass are silica and alumina. So these are the two mineral constituents that make the continental mass. That's the reason this is known as Cl. Si for silica and Al for alumina. So you can easily get the answer by this name itself, Cl. Si for silica and Al for alumina. So just remember the name Cl. So the main mineral constituents that make the continental mass are silica and alumina. And similarly, the oceanic crust, it consists of silica and magnesium. Therefore, it is known as Sima. Okay, Si for silica and Ma for magnesium. So, just by remembering these two names, Cl and Sima, we can remember the constituents of both continental mass and similarly for oceanic crust, isn't it? Just beneath the crust is the mantle, which extends up to a depth of 2900 km below the crust. So, below the crust, there lies the next layer of Earth, that is known as mantle. So, we can see mantle in this diagram. Okay, this is 2900 km deep. Okay, so beneath the crust there is mantle and it's of 2900 km depth. Okay. Do you know the deepest mine in the world is in South Africa? It is about 4 km deep. In search for oil, engineers have dug a hole about 6 km deep. So the deepest mine that is present on the Earth's surface is the mines in South Africa and it's of 4 km deep. And in search of oil, the engineers have digged the Earth up to 6 km deep. So these are the biggest or the deepest mines in the world. To reach to the center of the Earth, which is not possible, you will have to dig a hole 6,000 km deep on the ocean floor. So, in order to reach the center of the earth, we have to dig a hole of 6,000 km. So, this is the thickness of all the layers towards the center of the earth. Okay, so we have to create a hole of 6,000 km, and obviously this is not possible. Do you know? The crust forms only 1% of the volume of the earth. 84% consists of the mantle and 15% makes the core. So, we know that crust, which is the outermost layer of the earth, is only of few thickness, isn't it? Only few kilometers. We have seen it, isn't it? Only 35 kilometers of thickness for the crust over the continental mass and only 5 kilometers over the ocean floors, isn't it? So, it only constitutes for 1% of the total volume of the earth. Remaining 84% is of mantle and the 15% is of core. The radius of the earth is 6,371 kilometers. So, what's the radius of the earth? 6,371 kilometer. The innermost layer is a core with a radius of about 3,500 kilometer. It is mainly made up of nickel and iron and is called a knife. The central core has very high temperature and pressure. So the innermost layer of the earth is known as core, and it has a radius of 3,500 kilometer. Okay, and it is made up of nickel and iron. Therefore, it is also known as knife. Ni for nickel and Fe for ferrous. Ferrous means iron. Okay, so the innermost layer is core. It's of 3,500 kilometers of radius, and it is also known as knife as it is made up of nickel and iron. Okay, the central core is having very high temperature and pressure. Rocks and minerals. The earth's crust is made up of various types of rocks. Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust is called a rock. Rocks can be of different color, size and texture. Okay, so here comes a question. What do we mean by rock? Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust is called a rock. So, our earth crust is the outermost layer of the earth, and it is made up of various types of rocks. These are the natural mass of a mineral matter. Okay, so the natural mass of a mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust is known as rock. And the rocks are of different colors, sizes and of texture also. There are three major types of rocks: igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. Okay, so there are three major types of rocks. So here comes a question. Which are the major types of rocks? So we can write down these three names of these rocks, and along with that we can also write its definition also. So we can look into the definition. When the molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks. They are also called primary rocks. There are two types of igneous rocks: intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. So, this during the time of volcanic eruption, magma will come out of these volcanoes. This molten magma will cool and will become solid, and this will later form into rocks. So this molten magma, when it cools, it will become solid and rocks are formed from this. This type of rocks are known as igneous rocks, and this is also known as primary rocks. There are two types of igneous rocks. They are intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. So here comes a question. What do we mean by igneous rock? So we can write the first sentence of the paragraph, isn't it? When the molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks. Along with that, we can also write they are also called primary rocks. And there are two types of igneous rocks. They are intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. Okay, so this is the answer for the question. What do we mean by igneous rocks? Can you imagine lava coming out from the volcanoes? Lava is actually fiery red molten magma coming out from the interior of the earth on its surface. When this molten lava comes on the earth's surface, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. Rocks formed in such a way on the crust are called extrusive igneous rocks. So, the lava which is coming out of this volcano during the time of eruption is actually fiery red molten magma, and it comes out from the interior of the earth to the surface of the earth. Okay, and later this lava will cool and become solid. The rocks such formed are known as extrusive igneous rocks. Okay, so here the example for such extrusive igneous rock is basalt. The Deccan Plateau is made up of these basalt rocks. Sometimes the molten magma cools down deep inside Earth's crust. Solid rocks so formed are called intrusive igneous rock. Since they cool down slowly, they form large grains. Granite is an example for such a rock. Grinding stones used to prepare paste or powder of spices and grains are made of granite. So here we are going to discuss about intrusive igneous rocks. So the molten magma will not comes out of the earth in this case. These will cools down inside the earth only, and then solid rocks will be formed. This is known as intrusive igneous rocks, for example granite. So here we have discussed about extrusive igneous rocks and intrusive igneous rocks. So the molten magma comes out of the earth's surface and cools and becomes solid. The rocks so formed is known as extrusive igneous rocks, and the molten magma does not come outside the earth crust and cools within the interior of the earth is known as intrusive igneous rocks. Okay, extrusive means outside and intrusive means inside. Okay, we can remember like that. So we can answer to the questions. Explain about the two type of igneous rocks. Okay, so we have studied what do we mean by igneous rocks and also the two types of igneous rocks. So students, we will discuss the remaining portion of the chapter in next video. All of you subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you will get the notification of next video. See you soon. Thank you.